Well, hey there, writer. Welcome to the Resilient Writers Radio Show. I'm your host, Rhonda Douglas, and this is the podcast for writers who want to create and sustain a writing life they love. Because, let's face it, the writing life has its ups and downs, and we want to not just write, but also to be able to enjoy the process, so that we'll spend more time with our butt in chair getting those words on the page. This podcast is for writers who love books and everything that goes into the making of them. For writers who want to learn and grow in their craft and improve their writing skills. Writers who want to finish their books and get them out into the world so their ideal readers can enjoy them. Writers who want to spend more time in that flow state. Writers who want to connect with other writers to celebrate and be in community in this crazy roller coaster ride we call the writing life. We are resilient writers. We're writing for the rest of our lives, and we're having a good time doing it. So welcome, writer. I'm so glad you're here. Let's jump right into today's show. Well, hey there, writer. Welcome back to another episode of the Resilient Writers Radio Show. Today I'm here with Julie Snider. Julie is a retired public school teacher living near Sacramento, and she writes fiction and nonfiction. Her heartwarming stories are centered on themes of social justice and help readers from diverse backgrounds find common ground. She's on the board of the California Writers Club, Sacramento branch, and her essays and flash fiction appear in various online publications. Her debut novel, Chapel Bay Secrets, came out in January 2026. And her Substack, Impermanent Joy, I love that title, reaches hundreds of readers every week. You can find out more about Julie and her writing on her website at juliesniderauthor.com. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you. So nice to be here, Rhonda.
So tell me a little bit about Chapel Bay Secrets and where the idea for that novel came from, because you were writing smaller pieces until then, right?
I was, and I had just retired from teaching. I taught for 26 years and had done a lot of writing, but mostly structured lesson plans. And I really wanted to spread my wings and do something longer. So I thought, why not try a novel? So I picked up a book called Write a Novel in 90 Days, and that turned out the joke was on me. I mean, come on, really? But I did get a bunch of good ideas. And what first came to the forefront was that I wanted to write characters who were in some way isolated and yet needed to form community to solve their particular issues. So that was the first thing that came to mind, because as a teacher, I've had a lot of experience with community and with working with kids who were isolated and then came together and so on. So that just sort of crossed my mind. About 20 years ago, I was on a trip up through Northern California, and my traveling companion and I came upon the site of what had once been the Tule Lake Internment Camp. For those that are familiar, the Japanese American internment, which occurred around 1942 and lasted a couple of years. And I was shocked and horrified that this had not been part of my history lessons growing up. I thought, this is really terrible. Why was I not informed? I grew up in the Midwest, so nowhere near these particular camps, but still I was just amazed that I hadn't been aware of these camps. And taking the tour of the site, we went through a couple of barracks, and they were very dirty and cold. And you just got a chill seeing the conditions that these people had to endure for up to 2 years. So that stuck in my mind. It was kind of like an arrow through my heart. And I thought, I need to know more about this. Time went by and I started to do some research, bought some books, did some reading, actually talked to a couple of women whose mothers had been in the camps, and just kind of really got a feel for what that might have been like. Learned about intergenerational trauma that was then passed down to these friends of mine. So that was certainly something that came back to me when I sat down and wanted to write. I had the freedom of being retired and having that time. So my protagonist is a Japanese American woman whose mother was in the camps. And that was sort of a natural thing I wanted to write about. there are several other main characters who struggle in their own ways, but the lead character is very closed off. Her heart is very closed. She's searching for a father she's never known. And her mother passed away, but without ever telling her who her dad was. So this is kind of front and center in her mind. At the time that I was writing, which I believe was around 2022, book bans were a big deal. And that was on my mind too, as a former educator. I'm not a person that's easily drawn into anger, but that's something that just gets my blood boiling just in a quick second. And so I turned my protagonist into a librarian who was faced with a book ban right off the bat. So I'm putting these, I sort of built a layer cake with characters and issues together.
Yeah. Wow. That's a lot though. Like it's a lot. And so talk to me a little bit about some of your research. You said you got some books and you kind of went deep on the internment camps. Did you do any additional research on book bans or anything like that?
I did. Yeah, I did do that. And I connected with people who I myself was not a librarian. I was a science teacher, but I connected with people who are librarians. And subsequently, once I started my Substack site, I'm connected with a woman who does extensive research on book bans. And every week she puts out more information about what's happening. And that really, that's been very helpful as well. Yeah, just for those of us that are in the United States, and maybe you're in Canada, I believe.
I'm
Yes.
in Canada. We
Yeah.
we have some book bans, but yeah.
Are you familiar with the documentary called The Librarians? Because I just watched it
Yes.
last night.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
good.
yeah. So that it's just interesting because I really thought that this would be a topic of the early 2020s, and it wouldn't be something that would carry over. And it's amazing to me that this is just such a continuation.
Yeah, it just goes on and on. I mean, I think, there are some positive things happening around books, but the book bans just seem to continue, and it's either, yeah, it's we have Alberta. It's our book ban territory, Alberta.
Mm.
Yeah. So your protagonist is Brenda Cato. She is a librarian, she's a lesbian, she's Japanese American,
Mhm.
and and it's the anniversary of her mother's death, right? Which kind of
Correct.
sharpens the need to find her father.
That is correct.
So talk to me about how she gets involved with a group of Japanese Americans who were incarcerated.
Well, she meets people one at a time. She goes to a conference, a librarian's conference. I called it, I decided this would be a clever topic. I called it Righting Wrongs with a W.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
And at the conference, there's a woman who was in the camps who speaks. And so that's her first encounter with somebody that is
Okay.
perhaps like her mom. And she interviews her and gets some facts and so forth. And then later in the novel, she meets another woman who was in the camps because by the time we get to this point in the novel, Brenda's become active with a local group of Asian Americans, and they're getting
Right,
ready for the Day of Remembrance. So she's a speaker
right,
at this conference, and then meets another woman who turns out did know her mother. So
right. And there's a bit of a romance
there is a
there.
romance.
She
Yeah,
she she meets a
yeah,
woman or
she
comes
does.
across a woman when she's running. So
Yes.
there's a bit of a romance there too, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So the material's fairly heavy, right? Like
Yeah.
the background and the material, basically the context for the whole novel is fairly heavy. Was that a challenge to you when writing it? Like, did you ever find yourself feeling, I don't know, feeling the heaviness of it?
I did feel the heaviness, but I counterbalanced that with some of the quirkiness of characters in the book.
Mm,
I had a lot of
okay,
fun with that. So Brenda's best friend is a gay guy in San Francisco, and he's just got the
okay,
funniest sense of
right,
humor. So he
okay.
brings in that little spice. One of the main characters is named Harriet, and she's always in her own way. She's like a busybody. She's well intentioned, but she just
Mm,
socially doesn't get it. So she does a lot of funny things in the book that
okay,
people will laugh at.
okay.
The inspiration for her was one of my mother's aunts who was kind of like that. So yeah. So there is humor and likeness, and as you mentioned,
Right.
romance in the book,
Hmm.
and a lot of just sort of everyday life that
Right.
people can
Kind
relate.
of balances out the
Mhm.
heaviness of the historical material.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm,
yeah.
mhm.
So.
And so this is intended as a one-off novel, is it? Are you planning another one in this world or not really?
I've been working on another one in this world. It's not at all the same. It's in the same town with several of the same characters, but not sort of the same degree of moral, issues. There is some of that.
Mm,
It's a little bit more of an actual mystery, and
okay.
so
All
yeah,
right.
so I'm having
Mm,
fun with that.
right. So the secrets in this one have to do with the internment and also her finding her father, right?
Those are a couple of the secrets. I'm not going to give them all away, but
Okay.
the
No
Harriet,
spoilers. No
yeah,
spoilers. Yeah.
the Harriet character, the one that gets in her own way, she really wants to be accepted by the literary community
Mm,
in town. So, one of her secrets that she's kept from others is that she feels like she's a great writer and no one's accepting her.
mm.
And then there's a gentleman named Joe who's a retired psychologist, and he has a very guilty conscience over something he's done in the past, and so
Okay.
he's hoping nobody finds out about this, but he
Okay.
really
So there's a whole community with secrets, really.
hmm yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, did you have trouble keeping any of that straight as you were writing? Like, did you
I'm a
ever have to like map them out and be like, here's Harriet, here's Joe? I think I
I
would have
did.
to.
I mapped out timelines and I color
Mhm,
coded everything and all that sort of
mhm.
stuff. So yeah, and there
Okay.
were a lot of revisions. So I figured
Right.
it out.
How long did it take you to complete the book?
Well, about 2.5 years from start to finish, and that was with help from developmental editor and so forth,
Great.
to
Okay.
really get
Yeah.
it going. And I mean, I had never written anything like this before, and I had no idea. If I'd known how difficult it would have been, I probably wouldn't have started it. But
Mm,
I just had so much fun with it. I just kept going, and the editor I hired read it the first time, and she said, "I can't believe you made it to the end. You actually made it to the end." So we had a lot of ironing out to do.
right. Oh my God. Yeah. I can't believe you made it to the end. I think every writer everywhere feels that. I can't believe I made it to the end.
Yeah.
So, what were the big challenges when it came time to, you said you work with a developmental editor, but what were the things that had to be ironed out in revision?
I had to do a lot of smoothing over between scenes to keep things going between scenes,
Okay.
and to make sure that each scene had a particular point. There were great little things I wanted to put in, but it wasn't adding that much to the story. It was just something
Mhm.
fun that I wanted to write. So those things had to become their own separate little
Right.
world.
Mhm.
Um, when I first wrote the book, I thought I knew what the ending was, and I was wrong. The characters weren't done talking
Oh,
to me. Yeah, I had to keep, yeah, and it was probably going to be too short anyway, the way I ended it. So I had to come to a different resolution,
okay.
to kind of keep things going and keep the tension going.
Okay.
So
So, how would you categorize this book? Is it suspense, thriller, mystery, women's fiction? Like, where would you put it if you had to put it
it's
on
a
a shelf?
it's really a cross genre. You're leading people to the right watering hole there.
Okay.
I believe, well, I kind of call it women's fiction, but it's not the typical romantic women's fiction, although there is
Right.
romance in it.
Mhm.
It's also categorized under LGBTQ since Brenda's
Sure.
a lesbian, and kind of small town mystery. So it's sort of a
Okay.
mashup of all that
Okay.
stuff. Yeah.
And so the small town, Chapel Bay, that's where you're going to place the next one.
Hmm.
Oh, I love that. I love a series that's in a small town. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you decided to self-publish. Can I
Mhm.
ask why you decided to self-publish?
I did pitch it to agents for about a year and got some good requests from agents. But when I evaluated the whole process, I felt like it was going to take a really long time. And
Right.
I want to get on with things.
Mm,
I thought self-publishing was going to be so difficult that I shouldn't even try it.
right.
And I came to the conclusion that it's probably in some ways easier because I have more control over a lot of the things. I got to pick
Mm,
my cover artist, I got to choose my
mhm.
editors. And I developed a whole community of friends that I
Right.
probably wouldn't have done it
Right.
otherwise. So,
Talk to me about the book cover.
mm, well,
I mean, I think it's very,
Oh, there it is.
it kind of, yeah, it kind of feels Nora Roberts to me. Like, you know how she has these, she has these that are like, uh, I don't know, they have romance, but they also have intrigue and suspense and, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So how did you get the cover right?
well, my cover designer submitted a bunch of things to me. And I
Okay.
liked this particular one because it showed the bay, the Chapel
Mhm.
Bay being on the water, shows the water, shows the sun setting.
Mhm.
And to me, it does introduce an element of intrigue. But I didn't want any faces on the cover. I didn't want to,
Okay.
I didn't
All
want
right.
people to think, oh, that's how so and so is supposed to look. I think it's more powerful when people get to use their imaginations for the
Yeah,
characters.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
But it's a nice cover. It
Yeah.
looks good. So so now that you've self-published, you're kind of, you're your own publishing house.
Mhm.
So you're also the marketing department. How are you finding being the marketing department for your own novel?
I'm learning what I want to do and what I don't want to do with marketing, and it's quite
Okay.
educational. I'm not that person that's on social media every single day, so
Right.
that's not going to
Mhm.
work for me.
Mhm.
I'm trying to go for more organic marketing. I have a
Mhm.
couple of authors that kindly gave me blurbs, and they're helping me get the word out through their
Great.
networks.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm meeting with small groups. I'm thinking this is a great book club fiction piece,
Mm,
and so
mm.
I'm hoping to attract some of the groups that way.
Okay, this is great. So you and I met at the Women in Publishing Summit networking event. Have
Mhm.
you been connecting with like different writers groups, workshops, networking events like that?
Yes, I have. Women in Publishing is actually such a powerful group.
Aren't they amazing? I just love Alexa and everything
Yes.
she does.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And so I
Mm.
took the 6-month marketing course that she offers.
Oh,
Once I
wow.
decided I was going
Okay.
to self-publish. It's called
Mhm.
Book Lunch, and BLAB is the acronym. I can't remember what it's called.
I think it's book launch in a box, something
There
like
it is, Book Lunch in
that.
a Box.
Yeah.
Really helpful.
Hmm.
So yes, and then my local organization, as you mentioned in the introduction, I'm on the board of the California Writers Club Sacramento. So I get to hear all sorts of great things about the craft of writing, and
Okay.
we support one another that way. I think community is absolutely essential.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I think books are written in community. I don't know how you would do it otherwise because
Hmm.
it's so easy to give up because,
Mm.
it's not exactly the easiest thing anyone's ever done, this writing a book.
Not. And isn't it,
Yeah.
there's a statistic that aren't there 5 books published every minute or something? It's a crazy
Oh
number.
gosh.
So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's
you
true.
can just
Yeah.
drown in the sea there. And I'm also a member of Women's Fiction Writers Association, and
Okay.
have a good friend that's really helped me and mentored me through that. So um,
Okay.
wonderful
So,
people.
so is it fair to say that community and collaboration is kind of is really your approach to marketing?
It absolutely is. It
Yeah,
absolutely is.
love
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And in
I
this
think
age
it's
of
so much easier to do it that way.
mhm. Well, it's more satisfying,
Mm.
when you actually can come face to face with people, or at least have a good interaction online. I
Mm.
met one of my Substack folks in person for the first time at my
Oh
book
my
launch.
gosh,
Yeah, she drove
that's
because
so
I
great.
live in Northern California and she's in San Francisco. So she made the drive with her husband, a couple
Oh
hour drive to
wow,
come up to my book launch, and it was so wonderful to
that's
finally meet face to
amazing.
face. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. When it comes to Chapel Bay Secrets and getting it out into the world to reach the reader that it's perfect for, have you done much thinking about like who your ideal reader is?
Done some thinking about that.
Mm,
I would say the ideal reader is a woman in age 45 to 70, perhaps member of a book club,
okay.
probably leans a little bit left politically,
Hmm.
because of the issues that I've brought into the
The
book.
issues and queer
Yeah.
protagonist and yeah. Hmm.
So that's right in the center of my Venn diagram of who I'm
Right.
looking for, but it
I
certainly
love
isn't
it.
exclusive, you
Okay.
know.
And you're willing to go out to book clubs. Like if people are doing a book club, you're willing to
Absolutely.
like Zoom in or whatever. Oh, I love
I'm
that.
absolutely willing
Mhm.
to do that. Yeah, I'd love. And I have on my website, there's a series of book club questions so that
Mm,
people can kind of guide their colleagues that way.
okay. Oh, I love that. So I was in a book club and we had a couple of times we had the author come in and I
Mhm.
always made me nervous because I was always afraid somebody was going to say that they didn't like the book. And that would have just horrified me, you know. But not every book is for every person, but
Sure.
still, yeah, you're not nervous about that at all. You're fine.
No, well, I mean, considering how edgy some of my issues are, I've
Right.
been asked whether I feel like I've gone too far with things, and I don't think so. I mean, look at the times that
Mm,
we're living in. I think I
mm,
have to write from my truth and
mm,
from my heart and keep my
mhm,
intentions and
mhm.
close by. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
my way of being true to myself and also trying to build that community with people.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's no point in trying to build community if you can't be authentic.
Hmm.
You can't build community if you're not authentic. So, yeah.
That's it.
Wow. Well, this is great. Thanks so much for talking to me about this, Julie. So I'm wishing you all the best with the book. It's just like it's fresh, this book. It came out in January, right? So it's
Correct.
hot off the presses. We'll link it up in the show notes so people know where to find it. And I'm wishing you all the best with the new manuscript. Good luck with it.
Terrific, Rhonda. Thank you. And I hope to see you in some of the Women in Publishing forums. So,
Oh, I'll definitely be there.
okay,
Take care.
take care. Bye bye.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me today and for listening all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Resilient Writers Radio Show. While you're here, I would really appreciate it if you'd consider leaving a rating and review of the show. You can do that in whatever app you're using to listen to the show right now, and it just takes a few minutes. Your ratings and reviews tell the podcast algorithm gods that yes, this is a great show. Definitely recommend it to other writers. And that will help us reach new listeners who might need a boost in their writing lives today as well. So please take a moment and leave a review. I'd really appreciate it, and I promise to read every single one. Thank you so much.